Appreciate what you do. Well, I've got a lot of things to cover today, and not enough time to cover them, and my mind is full and my heart's kind of full after listening to all these events today. I was really sad that I was not here yesterday, but about 6 days ago, a good friend of ours passed away, and somebody that you probably don't know, but he worked at Nu Skin for a long time. He was an employee, and if anybody remembers back the OTG broadcast network, when we would broadcast live every week over the internet and have these shows, we did them in a little office right up here in Utah. He's the person who put it all together, made it all happen for us, and his name's Ron Sandstrom, so I was able to attend his funeral and spend time with his widow yesterday, and so that's where I was, and I longed to be with you, but I had that obligation. And you know, think about the people in that building over there who really give a lot of effort and time to create the opportunity that we have. It's really remarkable. I'm amazed that they do what they do. And I think it's really hard when they do what they do and they come and hear what we get to do. You know, it makes it even more difficult, right? But Ron was an amazing person. So anyway, let's do this quick. We've got a few things here. I want to spend the last couple of minutes just making a few points. We made history with TR90. The single biggest product launch in the history of network marketing. 40 million in North America in 2 hours and 32 minutes. Over 1,000 executives created last September alone. We'll break that record in 5 weeks on March 31st. We will break this record in the month of March for the most executives made in a single month in the Americas region. Globally, $550 million launch. Definitely the biggest launch ever in the history of this industry. And so we have now left the industry with their jaws hanging open. Like, how did they do that? Like we predicted we would. And that has actually happened now. The first launch, V1 as we call it, Velocity 1 of TR90, was a game changer in this market. Want proof of that? How many of you here were happy with your participation in the first launch of TR90? Were you happy with it? How many of you in this room will do twice as much on the second launch in your organization?
Woo!
Yeah, so because people had the experience really for the first time, just last October, on the 15th of October in 2 hours and 30 minutes, that is going to be accelerated this time. It's going to happen even faster. V2, we get 60 million. That's our allocation that we've been able to grab from the global allocations that are out there. And it will sell out. And it probably will be less than an hour because this time people know what to do now. They know what to expect. They know the websites and how to get on and how to process it, how to train their teams. And I'm going to run through that very quickly. Some people made it happen. Some people watched it happen. And some people said, what happened? That's what occurred last time. There were a lot of naysayers, a bunch of people that were skeptical. Some of the older team elites like myself, some of them, not me, but some of the older team elites were skeptical, saying, oh, it's just another gimmick. Why don't they just release the product? Why are they taking it away and putting it out and taking it away? This is ridiculous. Just release the product. Let's just have it. And now they believe. And they're going to play this time. The rules for the V2, Velocity 2, right? What are the rules so you can play in the game? One, you got to be an executive by March 31st. There's been a lot of talk today about what are you going to do? Well, you got 5 weeks to do it. You want to be in Jackson Hole? You got 5 weeks to finish it off. Some of you might be brand new today, sitting here in this audience and hearing all of this and being energized by it and asking yourself, what do I do? You've got to be an executive by the end of February. You got to do it in the next 6 days, okay? Right now, you got to do it yourself. And then in March, you've got to get 4 executives on your front line. And if you do that and you hold them, you can go to Jackson Hole. But that's what it's going to take to do it, okay? If you don't hit this one, then you're going to go to the next one. And like Scott Schwartz said, you'll need a passport, and I promise you it'll be warm, and it's not Mexico, okay? So that's where we're going to go after we go to Jackson Hole. So if you are an executive by March 31st, then you can order TR90 at 10 a.m. Mountain Time on April 23rd. That's the day before we go to Dallas, Texas for the Corporate Leadership Summit, right? So that's the day before. You're going to have your plan in place. So if you do that, then on April 8th, you'll receive 10 promotional codes via email from Nu Skin. Or if you're a gold or higher, you'll get 20 codes from Nu Skin. And you'll see why these codes are so important, right? Every package of TR90 is going to generate 1,150 points of commissionable sales volume. We know that we have how many packages? 60 million divided by 1,150. We get 52,000 packages of TR90, and that is it. And when they're gone, they are gone. So how many codes are chasing those 52,000 packages? Well, we know that at the end of September, we had 7,200 executives in the North America area. We know that we're going to create at least 2,000 more by the time we get to March 31st. So we know we have at least 9,200 executives. It'll probably be closer to 10,000 executives in the Americas region that are going to participate in this particular TR90 launch. And so we know we've got at least 10 codes for those executives. At least 92,000 codes. But some of them are higher than an executive. Some are gold and lapis and ruby and emerald and diamond, and they're going to get 20 codes, right? And so if you really look at the math, we know each code can buy 2 packages, right? That's 200,000 plus purchase opportunities, 200,000 cracks that people get to buy a package. And so we know we have about 4 codes chasing every available package. There's 52,000 packages. You got more than 200,000 opportunities to grab those 52,000 packages. And so they're going to sell out. And it's going to happen quickly, and that's why you've got to be ready. We know that these 4 things happen every 6 months, and you can plan on it going forward. Just plan on it for the rest of your days here in New Skin, all right? You need to be prepared for this. We have a success trip qualification period. Then we have a maintenance, so we can hold those executives for 3 months and actually go on the trip. Then we have a corporate event, either a convention or leadership summit, or we have an OTG event, a success summit, or Success Olympics, depending on your market. And then we have a limited time offer, an LTO, where we can have the reward for doing the business that we should have been doing for the previous time. So this is the cycle we are in. We're in the last of February right now. We've got about 5 weeks before March 31st to wrap up this particular cycle. And that's what your goal is today. That's what your objective is. Then you're going to maintain for 3 months, and then you're going to take your trip to Jackson Hole in August. And did everybody know we're going to eat dinner at about 10,000 feet on the top of the Tetons? Can you imagine helicoptering all the food up just to feed everybody at 10,000 feet? This is going to be the most incredible trip. If you've never been there, you are missing out, right? That's where everybody who's rich in America goes in August. Even Air Force One flies in there, okay? And if you've never been there, you don't get it. You don't understand. This is way better than Hawaii. Way better than Hawaii, okay? And so you want to make sure that you're there. Now, as has been said, it doesn't matter where the trip is. What matters is who's with you on the trip. That's what matters. So you want those people with you, and you want them in Jackson Hole, and it will be a phenomenal event. So then you get recognized, and that's the full cycle right there. 6 months of qualification, 3 months of maintenance, take the trip, get recognized, okay? And then we do the LTO. All right, so we have the LTO. Let's just go back to October. Let's recap what happened so you understand the effect of it, okay? We have these brand new executives. They pushed like crazy at the end of September last year so they could qualify to be an executive and get their 10 codes to play the game, right? And so then they get to be this brand new executive and they get these codes. And if they used half their codes, they had a record first month. They have a 10,000 point first month as an executive. What a way to start the business as an executive, right? It's probably 3 times the volume they would have normally achieved. They know at the end of October what their check's going to be on November 21st. The October volume, which is a record month, that check shows up on November 21st. And that happened about 4 or 5 days before Thanksgiving this past year. And all of a sudden people are with all these people at Thanksgiving that they don't see all year, and their mouths are running. What happens when your check goes up? Your mouth speeds up. That's what happens because you're so excited about what just took place. And then we have these people that are absolutely focused on the next success trip. You know, their goal, if you're upline or if you as an upline takes this seriously, you should have set goals with them. And I'm going to teach you that right now. So that they're focused immediately. Great, you're a new executive, you got 10 codes, you had a record month, you're going to get a great check. Their first check's $1,800 to $2,200. That's their first check in the business. Okay, that makes their mouth run. That takes care of October. The LTO satisfies the first month of maintenance for you as the upline so you can go on the trip. The check motivates them, satisfies the second month of maintenance so you can go on your trip. And if you focus them on the next success trip, they're well in motion to qualify themselves to go on the next trip, and that satisfies the third month of maintenance so you can go on your trip. Do you see how that fits together? And it's very important that you understand that. And then, because they're focused on that trip, you will have record executive creation. I am known as a bit of a prophet in new skin, but I don't have to prophesy that one. That's going to happen anyway, right? That will be automatic. This March, by the 31st of March, we will set a new record for executive creation. And then, of course, we've got this summit we're at today, and we're talking about this, and what an opportune time to be here. Aren't you glad you've been here? Yeah. Don't you feel sorry for the people that aren't here? Yeah. They are missing out, right? And so you need to be in Dallas. Why? So you can buy tickets for the next Success Summit that'll be in July this year. It'll be at a critical time to finish off the qualification for the next trip where it's tropical, you need a passport, and it's not Mexico, right? You understand what July will be? The next time we do this, an OTG Success Summit, it's going to be about 6 weeks before the end of that cycle so that people can qualify for the next success trip. I think you're starting to understand how the success of trip to trip to trip magnifies your success or it minimizes your success. It's one or the other. Either you're participating and you're getting people this information and you're going on trips, or you are on your way out of this business. That's just the way it is now. This is the business now. And so you've got to get focused on these trips and participation in these trips, okay? Critical thing. So that's what happened as we did that launch. Now, we're now going to do 60 million. We got V2 coming up on us. That's our maximum volume. That's all we can get. You want to say to yourself, what piece of that am I going to capture in my team? And how well do I have them ready to do it, right? Okay, let's just talk about the spike. When you have an LTO, yes, you have a spike. And the LTO is not the business. Let me say that again. The limited time offer is not the business. That underlying upward trend, that base volume is the business. The LTO is the reward for doing the base business. What is the base business? It's the regular $365 packages that we sell day in and day out as we do our recruiting and our one-on-ones and our business briefings. And we're out there doing the work of the business, right? That's what we do every day. How many days do you get TR90? 1 day. So it can't be your whole business, can it? No, it's not the business. It's the reward for people who built during those 5 months before. They built with the regular duplication model. That's why everybody here, you need to understand that model. You need to understand buy 3, get 1 free, because that creates LOIs, which creates executives, which heads towards rubies, right? And so we do that, and then we spike, and we get this reward. And if it's their first month, they get a $2,000 check on average if they use half their codes, right? $2,000 check. They get this great start in their business. And then they come back down. You'll come back down to a base volume. If you come all the way down to where you were before the spike, then you screwed up. Okay? You didn't train your team right. You didn't help them understand the regular work of the business and the regular duplication model. So that's what you have to do. Your goal would be to come halfway down. Like the chart right there. You go up for V1, you spike, and you come halfway down. And then you just start that upward climb again for the next 5 months, doing the regular work of the business, the regular duplication model. And if you're successful doing that and creating executives through that process, then you're going to spike again at V2, right? And hopefully you only come halfway down on the backside of that spike. And the process of doing this will create massive amounts of executives, which will turn into rubies, which participate on these trips, which makes you free. That's what happens, right? And we'll just continue doing it. We're just going to keep doing these 6-month cycles. And your goal is to keep getting that spike. And if you get a $2,000 spike on the first one, you should get a $5,000 spike on the second one. You got to get an $8,000 or $9,000 spike on the third one. You got to get a $15,000 spike on the fourth one. You got to get a $25,000, $30,000 spike on the fifth one. and maybe a $40,000 or $50,000 spike on the 6th cycle, right? That's what should happen if we pull it off right. Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on those. We're going fast. Okay, let's get to phase 2. So what's phase 1? Phase 1 is today until midnight, March 31st. That's phase 1. That's what you all in this room need to do right now, is focus on phase 1, okay? Today until midnight, March 31st. And then what do? As soon as March is done, now you're into April. What's April 1st? What does that begin? A brand new cycle. April 1st, you're now in the next cycle, right? Till September 31st. And so now you're in phase 2. And phase 2 is 23 days. 23 days right there. And in those 23 days, on April 1st, I'm going to have a consultation with my new executives and make sure that they know we've got codes coming. Let's get a strategy to use the codes. We don't just use the codes to sell product. There's plenty of fat people out there. There's more than 52,000 fat people in the Americas, right? We've only got 52,000 packages. Okay? That's all we got. 52,000 packages for the Americas. All right? So if you're wise and you've worked hard to get your hands on these codes, you ought to think about the best way to maximize the use of those very scarce codes so you get the most bang for your business. Not the most bang for weight loss, the most bang for your business out of those codes. And that's what this consultation is all about. April 8th, verify receipt of the codes from Nu Skin to each of those new executives. Make sure they didn't get overlooked. Make sure they got the codes. And then guess what I want? I want them to forward me a copy of that email. Not so I can steal their codes, but so I can start putting names by it as we execute the strategy. Who's going to use this code? Who's going to use that one? Who's going to use this one? Who's going to use that one? That's the work of the business. That's your job as an upline. Are you driving your new people to make the contacts and connections and getting people that are committed to use the codes for the business? That's the work of the business. That's the recruiting process that we do. It's not just the selling of product to fat people, right? That's the difference of what we want to accomplish. April 14th, I'm going to confirm all the codes are assigned. Everybody's got the codes, all 10 codes. I got names by them. I've got those papers all on my wall in front of me. I can see it as I've worked with those people during these 14 days that we've got all the codes assigned. Everybody's ready to go. April 15th, everybody's got to place an order. We want their name in the system. So when time is critical on the 23rd of April, when you've got an hour to make this happen, we're not fumbling around trying to enter in their address and their credit card and their shipping address and all that. That's all got to be in there prior. And so order something on the 15th. If the card clears on the 15th, highly unlikely the card will be expired between the 15th and the 23rd of April. Credit card companies usually kill them at the end of the month, not in the middle of the month, right? Okay, and then on the 16th, I'm going to do a webinar, and I'm going to walk them through the ordering screens for the launch, because it's different than the regular Nu Skin ordering screens. Number 6, on the 22nd, I'm making contact with each executive to review that the codes are still good. Everybody's ready to go tomorrow morning. And then, yes, number 7, at 8 a.m., 2 hours before it goes down, I'm going to be on the phone with every one of those executives, maybe some of their people that have committed to use the codes. I'm going to make sure they're awake, they're not out walking their dog, they're not at the gym, not getting their hair done, not working on their nails, okay? I'm making sure that they're in front of their computer and they're going to be in the waiting room 30 minutes prior, 9:30 a.m. Mountain Time, ready to go. And if I pull it off and I was able to get my codes used like this, then I would have at least 4 really serious people on my front line. Guess who those 4 people are going to be? We're talking about a brand new executive who just became an executive, right? March 31st, they finish it. April 1st, they're a new executive. They're going to get 10 codes. I want their team to look like that. This isn't my team. This isn't you as the upline. This is the brand new executive's team. I want it to look like that. And if they commit that they're going to use one of these codes and they're committed to LOI and therefore I give them a code and they can LOI with the code, if they get 2 packages purchased at 1,150 points, that's 2,300 points on each one of them. That's everybody using the code right there, isn't it? Fully using the code. Not half the code, they use the full code. And that's what it looks like. Okay, so then we have all these things happen. 23,000 if they used all their codes. $23,000 in GSV. If they use half their codes, it's $11,500, and they're going to get a $2,000 check 21 days later, right? In the next month. Okay? All right, so then we're done with phase 2. What's phase 3? Am I going too fast? Are you tracking this? Does that clock mean I'm out of time? Already?
Keep going.
Probably am. I think we're done. Phase 3, April 24th to April 30th. What's the best week of the month in Nu Skin? I'll say that again. This is a question. Did you hear me? What is the best week of the month in Nu Skin?
Last month.
It's the last week of every month. We're already sitting there when we're in phase 3. We've already had a tremendous LTO. We've set $60 million in volume in a day. We've got this incredible month going. What are we going to do? Just go on vacation? Not a chance. We got the best week of the month ahead of us. Why should we waste that? So this is where we get focused, and we take these people, and if they're within striking distance, we finish them off as executives, right? They may have 2,300 points because you gave them a code and they used a code. It's not too hard to get to 4,500 points, but how do they have to do it now? What do they got to do now? The regular duplication model. This is your job as an upline. You don't let them qualify as executives just because of the LTO. If somebody qualifies because you gave them too many codes and they made executive just because they had all this energy and just the spike of the LTO, have they ever recruited anybody? Not likely. Have they gone out there and answered any objections? Have they even made a list? Do they know what System 7 even is? Have they been on a general's call ever? Maybe not. They may be so green that you just ruined them. Your job is to take those people that have partial executive volume and teach them how to work with the regular packages through the normal duplication process. Because that's all we got during phase 3, are the regular packages, right? And that's why you better be teaching teams to do the regular model all the time, because that's what they're going to do for 363 days a year, is the regular model. 2 days a year, they do this thing called a V1 or a V2. That's it. So you better be focused on regular models and how to build, right? We're going to just be done with that. We're good. Okay, so let's just look at this one real quick. If you did this, I'm talking to the brand new people in the room right now. You're brand new, you're here, you're maybe an executive, maybe you're a gold, and you're trying to do this thing, and you want to be in Jackson Hole. If you suck it up and get it done in the next 5 weeks, that is what your team could look like, right? You can become a Ruby. Now you're qualified to go to Jackson Hole, and you've got 4 executives on your front line. You got 5 weeks to do this. If you do it, how many codes do you have? This is something you've got to learn. At the end of the cycle, you can predict almost exactly your total LTO potential. Can't you? Yes, you can, because then we have an executive. How many codes? 10, and then another executive. How many codes? 10, and then 10, and then 10. And then how many for you? 20. So how many total codes? 60 codes total if you do that. And they can buy how many packages each? 2. So you have 120 potential packages. Times 1,150 CSV per package. How much total volume? Over 130,000 total volume. You're a brand new person here today. You do this, on April 23rd, you could have 130,000 potential volume if you executed perfectly at the LTO. What's that check going to be for you? It's going to be $6,000 to $7,000, maybe $8,000 if you're bonus pooling with these new 3,000 executives here, 8,000 or 9,000. That can be your check for the month of April. That'll arrive on May 21st is when you get that check. You want to change your future? It starts right now, today, to make that happen, right? Okay. In closing here, if you go to Jackson Hole by yourself, it's just you. See team members there? Well, it's just you from your team. That's it. And you've got those 4 executives that you've got their head focused on the next cycle that starts on April 1st. It ends on September 31st. And you're going to be in Dallas, and you're going to have a whole bunch of them here in July at the Next Success Summit, and you're going to get them all done by September 31st, right? You could have 4 team members with you on that warm place where you need a passport and it's not Mexico. Right? You sure could. And then after that, if you just double it, forget 4 times in it, the next trip you got 8 team members. And the next one you got 16. And the next one you got 29, right? Excuse me, 16. And the total, you would be at 29 rubies in 4 cycles. You use this cycle today, the last 5 weeks, you use this cycle. You do the next cycle to September 30th. I created a new day in September, didn't I? September 30th. And then you do the next cycle, and you do the next cycle. 4 cycles. 4 cycles, you could be at 29 rubies. And there's people who already stood on the stage today who have done more than that. Okay, we've had 4 cycles so far. This can be the next 4 cycles right here. So you got 29 rubies. You have to have at least 116 executives in your team. At least, right? And here's the volume. The executives get 10 codes each. If they use half their codes, they're at 1.2 million in volume. You've got the gold and above. All those rubies get 20 codes each. If they use half their codes, it's another 600,000 in volume. That's 1.8 million in volume. At 5% is $91,000 check. That could be your LTO reward in 4 cycles if you do that. Anybody here want to get a nice $100,000 bonus twice a year? All right, in closing, let me just say a couple of things. I was so enthralled with the presentations today. Several things that I heard. We had people on stage from Hungary. We had people on stage from the US and Canada and other places, okay? Lon Wynn stood up here and he said, I tracked this, he said, I came to this country 21 years ago. That was 1993. Do you know where I was in 1993? I spent about half that year in Japan because we were opening the Japan market. I was probably in Japan on the day Lon Wynn came to the United States. Stop and think about that, okay? Who do you think is going to show up in this business in the next 21 years? Do you think there's people that we haven't even met yet that don't even know about Nu Skin, people that may come to this country or go to another country where they meet somebody who's involved in this business and they end up being a team elite in our business? Do you think that'll happen? I guarantee that will happen, okay? When I started the business in 1989, that year there was a major event, world event that happened. It was called the tearing down of the Iron Curtain. And I remember watching the images on TV when Ronald Reagan was president and people were tearing down the Berlin Wall, knocking the wall down. I remember that. I can see them in my head. Some of you were not yet born when that was happening, okay? I remember it vividly. Who would ever have thought that we'd have friends in this room today from Hungary and Romania that used to be behind that curtain that would have no opportunity. And they're standing on this stage as team elites in this amazing global business that we have. Can you catch the vision of where we're going and what's possible and what's going to happen over the next 20 years in this company? Honestly, ladies and gentlemen, we have just begun, but you have to start now. You've got 5 weeks now. It depends on what happens every day that somebody's doing something. Okay? And that affects lives. It affects them 20 years down the road in ways you can't even contemplate, ways you can't even fathom. Brent Bryson stood here and said, nothing gives me more joy in this business than giving $10 million pins to people in my team. Okay? You need to make that a goal for yourself, to be able to do it, to change people's lives forever like that. But it starts today. And it can't be in your city where you have five teams and 5 dreams and a stupid little business because you can't get on the same page. Think about your town. Is there some leaders in your area and you guys aren't communicating? And you should be communicating. You know, what about our country? We have 5 teams and 5 dreams and, you know, we're doing 350 million. We should be $1 billion, right? We know the answer. We know the cure for what ails us, right? It's get rid of our egos. And let's just get on the same page. Let's all start doing what we need to do, right? I look at Europe today. I look at Europe and I say, okay, we got 5 teams and 5 dreams and we got 100 million. And that's why we have 100 million and not $1 billion. And so we've got to be all on the same page. And you got to do the system. The system will help you to achieve success. The system will make you better than you are. The system will leverage you bigger than you can leverage on your own, okay? The system will make you free if you do the system. That's why it's there. So everybody has a way to work together and to participate. If you don't want to do it, you go, well, I don't like that part of the system. I know cross-lining word, that bugs me. Well, fine. Then do your stupid job and have nothing, okay? Don't do our business, all right? Well, I don't like that slide in the 5-point presentation. Great. You do your stupid job then, and you just enjoy a life with nothing, okay? You know, I don't like the way they do that. I think they shouldn't sit these people up here in the front, you know, these team elites. It seems to me that's egotistical, and I don't like the way they set this up. Great, you go do your stupid little job and have nothing, okay? That's what you need to do. You want to get on? Then get with the program, right? One team. One team. One team.